Hi everyone, Pepper Hernandez from drpepperhernandez.com coming to you today to speak to you about the benefits of cacao and also going to share my famous chocolate recipe with you. It is so simple, and it's something really amazing to try this 2020 if you're trying to stay away from sugars or you love chocolate like me and you want to find a healthier alternative. So let's begin. We need 3 simple ingredients. It's very simple, super easy. Today, I'm at my family's home in Oklahoma, so we're going to be using the Oklahoma honey, this local Oklahoma honey that they have. We're also going to be using coconut oil. So you want to have your coconut oil solid. Obviously, it's not the non-refracted coconut oil, but we want to use a very clean, organic coconut. If it can be a raw coconut oil, that would be the best. That would be amazing. And then we're also going to be using cacao powder. Now, of course, this one is organic. This one is raw. This one is, let's see, it's amazingly powerful into antioxidants. It's helpful for skin and hair, and it's a healthy, supports a healthy heart, boosts mood, energy, and cognition. No wonder I love it so very much. Also, it is very high in magnesium, potassium, iron, vitamin D, and calcium. So this is a healthy alternative to just regular chocolate. And this is the one recipe that I have used for a number of years, honestly, maybe like 10 years or something. I just love this one. It's super simple. It's super easy. Now, I will have a couple variations, and I'll leave those recipes down below so you can kind of follow along if you like. But I will tell you this. I have noticed that there is a little bit of difference in the combination of cacao, coconut, and honey, which I was just talking to my family about, as well as if you were to do, say, agave. So the original recipe is a raw agave nectar, but because we had so much honey, we decided to use the honey, and this made it a little more fudgy and a little more chewy, which is actually going to be really great for today. But if you were to use the regular recipe and you wanted more of a milk chocolate kind of recipe, you would use agave nectar versus the honey. So let's begin. I'm going to show you exactly how you would go about melting the coconut oil. So let's start there. What we want is something like this, which is called a double broiler. Now this one's quite warm because I've had it on, but you would want a double broiler. Tilt this up just a little bit so you can see it. And you'd put your coconut oil in a glass container, setting it into warm water, and then allowing it to set aside for a while until it actually melted. Now, my recipe is 8 ounces of coconut oil, 8 ounces of cacao powder, and 8 ounces of agave nectar. So what I would do is I would mix the liquid ingredients first. Once this melted to 8 ounces, I would then add another 8 ounces of honey or agave nectar. Now, if you don't want it too much on the sweet side, then you would choose maybe not to add the honey at that amount. But what I typically do is add equivalent amounts. So 1 cup, 1 cup, 1 cup. Now, if you don't want it too sweet, then you would kind of possibly reduce the honey to maybe a half a cup or a fourth a cup. You can kind of play around with this recipe, but the easiest recipe ever is 1 cup, 1 cup, 1 cup, or 8 ounce, 8 ounce, 8 ounce. It's very simple. So we would add our honey to our liquid coconut oil. We would mix that in a nice container. And then I always hand do mine, and I whisk it. I use a whisk to make sure that it gets mixed properly. But if you were to use a food processor or a blender, that would make it more creamy and maybe a little bit more professional. But if you're just whipping up a batch for yourself, this is kind of how I do it. So I would work with the coconut oil and the liquid sweetener, whether that be agave or a coconut nectar or a honey, and mix those together. Once those are thoroughly mixed, then you're going to add the equivalent amount of the cacao powder, being 1 cup. So if you were to choose 1 cup of coconut oil, 1 cup of honey or your sweetener, and then 1 cup of cacao. Now, make sure that they're all raw and organic. That would be preferable. The liquid sweetener, I have had a lot of people ask questions about the liquid sweetener and wondered if stevia or any of these other kind of things would work. I would highly I would steer you away from that, honestly. Those are not my favorite sweeteners, so I think this is kind of the best combination. So once you've mixed that together, I'll move these things away so you can see what the mixture looks like afterwards. And this is what that looks like. I'll tilt this down just a little bit so you can see everything. Once you've mixed it, you can let it sit, and it'll set up easily on just room temperature. You could also put it into your refrigerator. If your time's being pressed and you need something very quickly, then you could choose to put that in the freezer, but you do have to watch it because it solidifies really quickly. So we're going to do this. This is room temperature. It's kind of set up because the coconut oil has solidified. And then from here, what we would do, let me tilt this down just a tad so you can see everything. We're going to choose to roll it into balls and then cover it with a combination of different things, or you can choose just one. Today we have cacao powder, we have crushed almonds, we have cacao nibs, and we're going to choose to use these 3 things to cover. So we'll just make it into a nice little ball. It might be nice to get your hands a little wet prior, so I'm going to do that quickly. Ooh, that's hot. Okay, I'm going to get into it, form a nice little ball here. And again, it's really important that it sets up, because if it doesn't set up, then it's just going to be gooey. But this one is set up pretty nicely. And then we're going to choose to roll it in the crushed almond, because it's just so pretty. Also, you could use, hemp seeds, or you could use crushed pistachios if you want a bit of color. I have used goji berries before, and goji berries were really, really pretty. So once you've rolled your little raw truffle, you can set it together, and you would chill this in the refrigerator. And you could chill this in the refrigerator for about an hour, and then they'll be ready to go. Now, if you're in a hot climate or a warmer climate, you're going to want to keep them refrigerated a large percentage of the time. If you're in a colder climate, then you could probably get away with room temperature. But this is the raw truffle. This one is coated in the cacao nibs, which I very much suggest. It's just beautiful, and it just gives it a more rich flavor, especially if you're going to use a very small amount of honey or sweetener. If you choose to use the agave and you use 1/4 a cup, say, with a cup of coconut oil and a cup of cacao, you'd have a really nice dark chocolate. And then rolled in these cacao nibs are just absolutely yummy. So there you go. We're going to put these in the refrigerator, and they'll be solid, and then we're going to eat them. Here, let me just this one actually has been in the refrigerator. This is the one that we just rolled. This one's been in the refrigerator. Oh my gosh. And that's what it looks like. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time. Oh, and by the way, if you choose to melt your coconut oil, and instead of using a cup or 8 ounces of coconut oil, you wanted to use canna oil, which I'm going to teach you how to make that very shortly, then these would be some potent little raw truffle nuggets. So enjoy. Pepper Hernandez from drpepperhernandez.com, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.